What's up, y'all? Entropy here. Welcome back to Old Dominion Dynasty. We are in the off-season, coming off our huge bowl win over Coastal Carolina, and the school is so happy with the football team's performance this year that they offered Coach Enseven Ropy a 7-year contract extension. This is huge. Evidently, they're pleased with what Coach Ropy has been able to do. And of course, I feel pretty good about bringing home 10 wins in our first season, especially with some of the wins we've had, including some crazy comebacks. I mean, even our bowl game was at least I think it was a 14-point comeback. It may have been more, I don't remember. I think we came back from down maybe 17 or 21 against somebody too. So, I mean, we had some exciting wins this season. It was a lot of fun. Usually, the first season of these, whenever I do a rebuild, even if it's not for YouTube, usually the first season is rough. Like you maybe try and get to 500 and then get your bowl eligibility maybe the last week of the season. But to have the season we did with so many exciting wins and bring home a conference championship as well as win our bowl game against a ranked opponent, I mean, that was exciting. It was a lot of fun. So evidently the school is happy with it as well, so they offered us a 7-year extension to our contract. Holy crap, this was unexpected. We had 5 dudes transfer out for playing time, including Isaiah Page, who was actually a pretty solid contributor for us last year. I guess he is trying to ride that high and, get playing time elsewhere. That sucks, man. He was probably going to be a big part of the offense going forward with Stone Smart graduating. He was going to move his way up the depth chart a little bit, but crap, I did not know how. I didn't expect to have any guys transfer out. We had 5 transfer out. I believe these other guys were mostly dudes that we redshirted or just underclassmen in general, but Isaiah Page is a huge loss that we were not expecting. Crap, we're going to have to... Wow, that's something that we're going to have to now navigate unexpectedly. He left for, looks like, Louisiana. So, jeez. That sucks. I'm like flabbergasted. I really didn't think we were going to have to deal with something like this, but I guess that's part of it, right? These guys can change around and do whatever they want. Well, as for the players that we were expecting to lose because they're seniors, Nick Rice, the kicker, of course. We didn't settle for too many field goals this year. We did, but we also went for it on 4th down quite a bit. Part of it was just his lack of leg. He couldn't quite hit the crazy long ones, but he was a very, very solid kicker for us this year. And of course, was maybe one of the biggest reasons that we won our bowl game as well. Jordan Young, man, this is a guy that he really flashed towards the end of the year. I forgot which game it was, but there was one game where I swear he had 3 TFLs, 2 sacks, and 10 tackles or something like that. Him and Steven Williams, our other outside linebacker, were both on fire down the stretch, so that's going to be a loss. JoJo Heaton or Hedden, I still don't really know if I've been saying his name correctly, but of course he was a stalwart in the defensive backfield. He was a great safety. Really didn't blow too many plays. I remember one where he didn't try and catch one on a Hail Mary that ended up being completed. But aside from that play, he was overall very solid for us. Roger Cray, our number 1 corner. That's going to be sad, especially after the huge play he had in the bowl game. Isaac Weaver, our starting left tackle. That's going to be a big loss because our run game was pretty solid this year. And I believe he was our highest rated lineman as well. So big shoes to fill for whoever will be stepping up at left tackle now. Corey Jackson, not a name I recognize. He must have not played much behind Haynes and Amari Morrison. Stone Smart, of course, the receiver, 6'4", 232. Had some crazy contested catches this year. He will be missed, but we also have a lot of receivers kind of waiting in the wings, except for Isaiah Page, apparently, who has just completely left us unexpectedly. Will Brochini, one of our reserve corners. I don't know if he even saw the field for us, but congrats on graduating, brother. And Harold Blackman, another safety who I guess just didn't get to play much because JoJo Heaton and what's his name? Robert Kennedy III were our 2 safeties. So didn't get to see much of him, unfortunately, but he is also graduating. So not a huge list of guys leaving. A lot of players are still going to be here for next season. So that actually might help, because I feel like this recruiting class that we have coming in we don't have a lot of guys coming in that'll be like good to go right away. So maybe it's a good thing we don't have too many guys leaving right now. And no transfer requests, so no one wants to come here. We lost 5 guys to the transfer portal, but we were unable to take advantage of it ourselves. Hopefully the new game that comes out will allow you to actually kind of try to recruit transfers as well, because in this game it's just luck of the draw, and luck was not on our side this year. Next is the recruiting. This is the biggest part of the offseason, where we're gonna have a lot of decisions to make with the guys we have left on our board. So we have 10,000 points to work with for this recruiting week. And we can put in case you're not familiar, we can put as many points as we want into anybody. So if we want to put all 10,000 points into one guy, we can do that. There's no more 500 point limit on anybody. And I know that our 2 positions of need, I am not getting a fullback. We don't need one for the offense we run right now. But we need 2 outside linebackers and 2 corners. We have 1 outside linebacker committed already. I know the 1 athlete that we have recruited, I forgot his name. It's John something. Not John Williams. I forgot. But the 1 athlete we have in our class can play corner, so he'll be slotting in there. So we need 1 more of each. So those are the 2 positions that we need to prioritize. But there's a couple other guys at different positions that I like as well, and I'll go through them real quick. Harvey Ramirez would be a great get for the O-line. He's only 68 overall, 6'2", 320, a massive dude. I like that all of his blocking statistics are over 70 to start. He could be a guy that maybe slides in right away, although we didn't lose any interior linemen, so he may not be a guy we should prioritize. But it's been a battle between us and Michigan State pretty much all season, and we're dead even here in the offseason. This might be a guy we have to try and cut our losses with, because State can undoubtedly outbid us for him, because they'll have more points at their disposal, but we'll see. Andy Foster, the defensive end, we have a lead on him, pretty considerable one at that. This game gets weird sometimes, where guys will commit with their bar not being full sometimes, but then there are other times where they just won't commit at all. So we can't put enough points into him to like get his bar all the way to green unless we put in like maybe at least half our points, but I don't really want to be doing that because we have other positions we have to worry about. So he might be a guy we put some points into just to try and keep our lead as is and just hope he commits, but I'm not really sure what to do with him, to be honest. Our 2 linebackers we have on the board, the outside linebackers I should say, James Ostrander, who we have a slight lead for, and Ryan Jones, who hasn't really indicated towards anybody that he'd like to come play for them. So both guys are kind of risky, because Jones may just not go anywhere. He may just not sign anywhere, because that's kind of how he's looking. He just isn't committing one way or another. Whereas Ostrander is an extremely crowded board, so we may have to put a lot of points into him to try and get him. We're going to need 2 outside linebackers, and we know we lost Jordan Young to graduation this year, so this is a guy we may have to try and put a lot of points into. Cornerbacks, the guys we have left, Sean Thomas, only 63 overall. We're in a dead heat with Buffalo. Anton Stewart, we have a considerable lead for over Rutgers, Baylor, and Iowa. He might be a guy we can get away with not putting a ton of points into, and he might still commit. I'm thinking maybe I might only do 1,000 or 2,000 into him, maybe something around that, and try and put more points into other people. But I've also seen recruiting battles where teams swoop in out of nowhere, and those teams there, even Oregon State, are all conceivably within striking distance if they choose to just dump 5,000 points into him or something like that. But he's a guy I think we'll have to prioritize because of the position he plays. And of course, we've got the 2 athletes that we added to the board late last season, Lawrence Keith and Josh Cruz. John Marshall is the guy that we have who I think will slide in nicely at corner. But as for these 2, it's a very similar problem with the defensive end we were just looking at, where they each have we kind of have a lead on them, but their bar is really not full, so there's a chance that these guys just don't really commit anywhere, but they also might decide to commit to whoever has the lead for them after this week. Obviously, I think Cruz would be worth prioritizing. He's a higher overall. I think his skills are better as well. Lawrence Keith was a nice find with him being a gem, but overall, Cruz looks like the better player, and he looks like he's much more suited for the defensive side of the ball as well. So it could be a situation where if we manage to get him, we could have him play corner, and then Marshall, we'd have a lot more flexibility about if we want to put him at corner or receiver, assuming we're able to get another corner in Anton Stewart as well. As you can probably tell as I'm talking through this that my mind is going a million different directions about who I really want to try to prioritize here. Obviously, like I said, we've got those positions of need that we have to really prioritize, but I don't know, man. I've got some decisions to make here. Alright, here's what I landed on for now. Harvey Ramirez, we're cutting our losses with him. O-line isn't a huge need, especially up the middle. We only lost our left tackle, so he'd be a development guy. He wouldn't play right away. While a guy like him would be important, we just have other needs I feel like we need to address instead. Anton Stewart is a pretty low overall, only a 65, and we also have a relatively sizable lead on him. So I'm only putting 1,000 into him. And then we're putting 4,500 into James Ostrander. Hopefully that'll be enough to put us ahead of everybody else in this race. Indiana, Vanderbilt, and Arizona being those three schools that we're fighting with. We're going to put 3,500 into Josh Cruz. Hopefully that'll be enough to keep Nebraska away from him. And then I put 1,000 into Andy Foster because we also have a lead on him. But again, as I kind of said, I don't know if he's a guy that's even going to commit just because of how low his bar is. So I don't want to sink a bunch of points into him only for him to just not decide to go anywhere. So that's where I'm at with him. And I also, the reason I'm putting more into Cruz than Stewart, despite the different leads that we have, is that Cruz is a much higher overall player, and I would likely be playing him at corner if I got him. So I would much rather bring him in. So I'm going to put more points into him. I'm putting the 4,500 in Ostrander, which is our other big position of the lead, position of need, rather. And hopefully we'll be able to bring in those two, and then Stewart and Foster, we'll just kind of see what happens. But Ostrander and Cruz are the two that I'm really hoping we can bring home here. But I've had recruiting weekends, big recruiting weeks like this go poorly in the past, so crossing my fingers and praying this one goes well. Alright, our points have been allocated. It's time to advance to the next stage and see who we're able to sign. I'm so nervous. Let's go, baby! Josh Cruz and James Ostrander are both Monarchs. We also got Anton Stewart to commit as well. We got Sean Thomas, who I didn't even put any points into. He was the other low corner we had on the board. So we got him as well. And I'm not seeing an indication on, I already forgot his name, but that defensive end we were looking at. So my theory looks like it was correct that he wasn't going to commit anyway. So I'm so glad that we didn't put a lot of points into him. Bummed we couldn't get him, but we got our two biggest positions of need more than taken care of now, especially with getting both, or rather all three of Cruz, Stewart, and Thomas. That's massive for our cornerback room. Obviously, Stewart and Thomas probably won't play much right away, but just to have that depth is massive. And Ostrander as well. We needed an outside linebacker so bad. And Michigan State, of course, nabbing Harvey Ramirez, but we didn't put any points into him, so who cares? We got the guys we wanted. I'm so excited. That could have gone so bad, but instead it went so well. Now on to position changes. This will be interesting because we recruited two athletes, and we're going to have to try and figure out where they fit. Josh Cruz comes in at a 69 overall at receiver, which I think is about what we expected. He's a 76 overall corner. And he's a 79 free safety, 76 strong safety. What do our safeties look like? I know we lost Heaton. Robert Kennedy III at free safety and Arterian Johnson at strong safety. Those guys' overalls are going to go up as well with the off-season training. that the returning players all get, so they're going to get some attribute boost. So their overalls will be higher than what they're currently at right now. So I think our safety spots are taken care of. So I think we're going to definitely... Oh, I went too far. We are definitely going to make Cruz a cornerback. I think that'll be the best position for him. So that now makes him... Well, as of now, he's our top corner. Again, these guys' overalls will go up, so he may be anywhere from 2nd to 4th by the time this offseason finishes up, but I definitely think that's the spot for him, and he's going to be playing right away as a true freshman, so very happy we were able to bring him in. Oh my gosh, I just realized how slow our corners are. Hawkins 83, James 84, Charity an 82. No wonder our pass defense was bad sometimes last year. I kind of forgot how slow some of these guys were. Yikes. Well, Cruz and even Stewart and Thomas, to an extent, bring some much-needed speed to this position group. Oh, boy. Gosh, no wonder we got burnt so much last year. John Marshall can play everywhere. He is a 77 quarterback, 78 running back, his 77 receiver, and then if we look at his defensive backfield as well, he's even in the 60s as a linebacker. That's not too terrible. Then he's a 76 corner, a 79 free safety, 75 strong safety. I actually don't know what to do with him. Our quarterback position's kind of taken care of because Wolf played so well down the stretch, but he's a guy we could, I guess, plug in. A 78 running back. I find that surprising because I thought his agility's pretty high, but I thought, his elusiveness is only a 48. Stiff arm 50, spin move 60, juke 56. I mean, his carrying's really high, so he won't fumble the ball, should he have it in his hands, theoretically, but I don't think I like him as a running back. He can't make anybody miss, and he also doesn't seem like he can really shed tackles either, so I don't, even though that's his highest position for some reason, I don't think that's where I'm going to be putting him. So let's see what the other rooms look like. The wide receiver room is crowded. Oh my word. If our roster is too high, we're definitely going to be cutting a handful of these guys. Again, the lack of speed is really showing here because Mike Cole, that 6'7" project freak show we recruited, is the fastest receiver in our entire receiver room with a 90. And everyone else is just not very fast at all. So we could put Marshall in the receiver room just for his speed and then kind of just adjust the depth chart such that he ends up seeing the field more often than maybe his overall might indicate, because these overalls are going up along with all the others. So him being a 77 overall, I think he's going to be. I mean, he might be kind of buried on the depth chart, but I'm thinking that might be the place for him. We already looked at safeties. We don't need help there. And while I don't love what our cornerback room looks like at speed, they're still pretty good overalls. And we already have 6 guys as well. I think we're going to make Marshall's position a wide receiver. But I could also very well see that we move him around almost like where he's needed. I guess he might just kind of become an athlete a true athlete for us, two-way player type of deal, like Travis Hunter at Colorado, or to an extent Jabril Peppers when he was at Michigan. Someone like that, where you play him offense, defense, and it's kind of just, oh, Blake Watson got hurt? Okay, cool. John Marshall will play running back today. Something like that, I think Marshall's going to be maybe the most interesting player from this entire recruiting class, coming in at a 77 overall, 92 speed. He's already one of our fastest players, if not our overall, just our fastest player, period. But, oh my gosh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be tricky, though. I got to figure out how to get him the ball, or put him in the defensive backfield, because apparently he's also great there. But I think we're going to put him at receiver for now, long story short. That was a long-winded way of saying we're putting John Marshall at wide receiver. My brain started to run wild with possibilities about how we might see this guy in this upcoming season, but he'll be at receiver to start at least. Next up is the training results. This is always one of the most exciting parts of the offseason. After a full offseason of work that Coach Ropy put these players through, we get to see what it did, what a difference it made, and we get to see these new souped up versions of our players. And how they're going to be better prepared for the season ahead. This is we'll see what it is. I'm excited. Hayden Wolf got better. He's our highest overall quarterback. He's up to an 83 now. That's pretty exciting. DJ MJ put in some work himself, up to an 81. He'll be serviceable as our backup for sure in the event that we need him. Blake Watson went up 6 overall. He's up to an 83 now. Elijah Davis up to an 80 as well. And Geiger up to a 78 putting in that work. Still not a lot of speed. Speed upgrades are never very much. You get 1. Maybe if you're lucky you get a +2 sometimes, but for the most part the speed doesn't go up a ton. We may have to get that freshman involved. I think his last name's Livingston. We may have to try and get him involved in the offense because our running back room leaves a lot to be desired in the speed department. Ollie Jennings up to an 86. I hope you didn't forget the name Jordan Bly, who got a +2 speed upgrade. He got injured. If you've been following the series, you know he got injured in our second game of the year. I believe he broke his elbow and was just out the rest of the season. It was a huge blow because at that point, he was like the only guy doing anything for us in terms of offense, and he was also our return man. So losing him at the second game of the year was such a massive blow, but we've got him back this year, and he's going to be 90 speed, and he's up to an 80 overall. So he is a player to look out for that you may have forgotten about because it's been so long since we even thought about him because of his injury. And of course, we see a lot of these other receivers got up to at about as we expected where John Marshall is, who is at a 77. So these are guys that, well, some of these guys may get cut if I need to make roster room, but these are also all guys that we'll probably be putting John Marshall ahead of on the depth chart. The only real decision comes with, like, when you get into Harvey, McCoy, and, of course, Marshall. That gives us 5 receivers. Which of those guys are we going to prioritize? Is it going to be Marshall for the speed, or is it going to be these other guys because we're more familiar with them? They've earned their spot on the depth chart, whatever. Those are questions we're going to have to answer later in this offseason. Ollie Jennings, of course, still with 81 speed is disappointing. I just saw that. I didn't realize how slow he was. Zach Kuntz up to an 80 overall. Good to see the big man put in the work. And we've got his backups up near that level as well. So we've got a surprisingly deep tight end room, even though we only ever see Kuntz actually on the field. Amari Morrison will be starting at end again for us, up to a 78. He's only a sophomore, so he's got a lot of time to develop. And Marcus Haynes will be starting on the other side. Again, he's a senior now, looking for maybe a big year from him. All our defensive tackles are, once again, kind of around the same. I don't know how we're going to decide who plays, who doesn't. I think Alonzo Ford Jr. and Tyree Bibby were the two we saw mostly. Chaz Wallace saw the field a little bit last year as well, if I remember correctly, but we just kind of have a log jam of pretty good D tackles. I wouldn't say any of them are spectacular, but it's nice to know we have depth. Ryan Henry ready to man the middle again, up to a 79 overall. Solano up to a 74 overall. Stephen Williams up to a 77. He'll, of course, be starting in his senior year at right outside linebacker. Our 3 returning corners all got better, 78, 78, and 76 respectively. Their speeds all got better by 1, but still better, which is a good thing. Man, it's a shame they're so slow, but they're going to be back there with Josh Cruz. Cruz will definitely be starting. I may even make Cruz our number 1 corner just because he's fast. We'll see. Robert Kennedy III up to a 79 overall. That's good. And, of course, Ali, maybe the best name on the roster, up to a 75. Kind of just waiting in the wings for his turn, but he's sticking it out. I respect that. Artarian Johnson will be taking over. I believe he had a really big interception against somebody last year. I can't remember who it was. But he'll be taking over the strong safety spot with JoJo Heaton graduating, and Justin Richardson will be backing him up. And that does it. We've got a lot of guys that put in the work and are ready to hopefully make a difference this year. We'll have to see how it all unfolds, but definitely got some steps forward. My brain is like kind of cycling already about how I want to set up the depth chart. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there you go. That's the training results. Custom conferences. I do think we are going to be redoing these, so I'll just do it and cut it all out of the video so you don't have to watch me do it because it can be quite the process. Okay, well that took forever, but so here's what I decided on. Conference USA, I'm leaving the FIU JMU hybrid team in Conference USA, and I'm also leaving Southern Miss in Conference USA. Both of those teams are technically Sun Belt teams, but I want to keep 6 teams in Conference USA, and frankly, the FIU JMU thing confuses the crap out of me, so I'm not even going to mess with that. But we are going to move to the Sun Belt. I've drawn the divisions up as they are in real life, aside from those 2 teams that I left, and so that's what those are going to be. I also made the others all match how they are in real life. So the American, for example, it doesn't have divisions in real life, so I had to make up divisions. So we have the Stars and the Stripes, very patriotic. And then the Big 12, of course, has added 4 teams effective this year: Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, and Houston. And I had to make up divisions for this as well. So we have the Red River, which is all the Texas and Oklahoma teams on the right, and then just the others are in the other division. So that's how that's going to work. All the other conferences stayed the same, and of course the Sun Belt is the only one super pertinent to us since that's where we're going to be playing, but just wanted to give you an update on how everything else fell, because this game doesn't let me not have divisions once you get above 11 teams. So the Big 12 and the American have to have divisions even though they don't in real life. So that's what that is. And here we are in the preseason. We have several things we have to do this season. So we'll start with the most boring one, which is the red shirting of players. I'll probably just cut to the end. If I decide to redshirt anybody, it'll probably just depend on how the roster falls. So we'll see. We're going to redshirt Greg Bailey, the freshman quarterback. We just don't have a lot of need for him, so we'll just let him develop an extra year. Greg Hayes, we're going to redshirt. He's a very low overall. O-lineman injuries are pretty rare as is, so I don't envision we'll even need to think about him. But even if our starter does go down, I'll probably just slide someone else over to that position instead. Aaron Ellis, the true freshman defensive tackle that we brought in, he'll be redshirted. We're not going to need him. As you can see, it's log jammed ahead of him on the depth chart. I think I'm going to redshirt Sean Thomas. He's the lowest overall corner. I think there's a chance we might need him at some point, but I also think if it gets to the point where we need a 6th corner, we can just move a safety down or something like that. So we're going to let him develop an extra year. I'm going to leave the other 2 freshmen unredshirted because I think they will both be playing this year, especially Cruz. All right, onto the depth chart. This may be risky, but I'm going to put Livingston as the number 2 running back behind Blake Watson. This should put him in formations where we have 2 backs. I think I'm also going to set him as the starting fullback as well, just so that there's a chance he gets kind of slid into formations, especially like that triple option formation that we ran a lot with Geiger last year. He's a very low overall fullback, apparently. Where is he at? But I want to get him on the field. That speed could be huge for our offense, so any way that we can get him out there, I will take. So I'm going to move him up the depth chart despite his low overall, purely for his speed. I think I'm going to move Marshall up to number 3 on the receiver depth chart. It's risky, especially because I know McCoy played so well for us last year, and Harvey as well. I mean, they both played very well for us at the receiver position, but I'm really trying to shake things up a bit, especially with the speed differentials that we're seeing. His spec catch is also a nice jump, and his catch in traffic is much higher than McCoy and Harvey as well. So I think we're going to rock with Marshall as our number 3 receiver to start. I am going to start with Josh Cruz playing the 3rd cornerback spot. It's just a seniority thing. Hawkins and James, I really thought played well for the most part last year. James in particular, despite their lack of speed. So this is kind of counterintuitive to how I've been doing everything else. But Cruz being our 3rd corner, will see the field plenty at that spot. It's not like he's not going to see the field at all. Jordan Bly will be reassuming his return duties, both as our kick returner and with Isaiah Page transferring out, he will also be taking over the punt return duties as well. He was so good for us last year, hopefully he can keep that up. Even though he only did it for a game and a half last year, hopefully he can really get that momentum back on his side. All right, on to the schedule. All right, here's what we landed on. We're going to start on the road at Virginia Tech, renew the rivalry game from last year. I think that's a game we're going to try and play every year because it's actually diagnosed as a rivalry game by the game. So I think that's a team we're going to try and play every year. NC State, currently ranked number 12. We're going to play them on the road as well. The ACC is the most likely conference we would move to if we elevated to the Power 5 level. So I thought playing a nice ranked opponent from that conference would be a good idea. And then we're going to kind of tone it back. We're going to have a bye week. Then we're going to host Buffalo. I'm a big fan of Maction being from the Midwest, so I wanted to take on a MAC opponent. So Buffalo's the one I chose. Not really for any particular reason. They're normally tough, so that should be an interesting matchup. Then it's straight into conference play. As you see, we have a rematch against Coastal. They're surely going to want revenge from last year. I'm not sure if Grayson McCall came back or not. I think there's a good chance he did. So it depends on what his class is. I'm not sure what this game has him, if it's a junior or a senior, but he may still be there, so we may have our work cut out for us yet again. But what I do like is that this schedule gave us a bye week and a home game to end the regular season, which will be huge for recruiting because we can pile up some of our biggest recruits late visits, I should say, including for that game against Marshall. So that game against Marshall may be a huge one for recruiting. And next up is setting up our recruiting board. This is huge because it's going to be figuring out who we're going to try and bring in next year already. You got to think far ahead when you're a college coach. Oh boy, we have a lot of positions in need. We need 2 strong safeties, 2 outside linebackers again, a free safety, a middle linebacker, and a center. So those are the positions we're going to have to prioritize right out of the gate. Oh boy, that's going to make going after anything else extremely difficult. The number 15 athlete in the class is interested. 6'4", 216, ran a 4.4. Yeah, I'm definitely adding him to the board. Okay, so starting with our positions of need, just a couple guys to add to the board. Jay Harris looks pretty good. I like that. 73 overall. And we have a gem center, Kenton Thompson. That is huge because he might be a lot easier to try and get our hands on than Jay Harris. Just look at the school competition difference. Yeah, Wisconsin, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia versus Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, and UCF. I think I like our odds a lot better with Kenton Thompson if we can get in on that race early. Added a lot of outside linebackers to the list. Let's see if any of them are worthwhile. Aaron Archie, not great. Went down to a 62. Jason Johnson, 65 isn't terrible. We do need 2 of these guys as well. Chris Holloway's a bust. Want no part of that. And John Stewart went down 1 overall as well. So just based off initial impressions, I guess, John Stewart, Jason Johnson are probably 2 to go after, because I think we do need 2 outside linebackers, which is, yeah, we need 2 of them. Gosh dang. Oh my gosh. This is going to be another stressful recruiting cycle because we didn't get commits on outside linebacker. We needed 2 last cycle, and we didn't get any commits for like a really long time. So we might have another stressful cycle ahead of us at this position group, but at least I have 2 I think I should be going after early. The middle linebackers that actually had interest in me off the bat were awful, so I added just the number 1 middle linebacker for kicks. Let's see what he looks like. He's down to a 78, but 85 speed, 76 tackle. He looks awesome, so that's a guy that is definitely out of reach, but just because I needed a middle linebacker, I wanted to look at him. Anthony Peoples is the other one. 86 speed is extremely nice as well, because I think the guy we recruited last cycle has 87 speed. And then his tackle and all that is in the 70s as well. Low pursuit. His coverage is not great, which is unfortunate considering our middle linebackers typically drop back into zone coverage. But I think he's the guy that's at least realistic for us to try and go after. I don't think we stand much of a chance against Notre Dame, Auburn, Alabama, and North Carolina for Scott Bailey. We also need safeties. I just added guys that were kind of interested in us already. Oh, gosh, that is not very good. 65 overall. Ugh. I really wish he looked better. I mean, we may have to go after him just because. We need 2 strong safeties, because I think both strong safeties we have are graduating after this year. And Maurice Allen at least has 87 speed, but their coverages are not great. His zone coverage is okay, this other guy, Henry Jackson, but he's only 80 speed. So not great prospects off the bat, but like I said, considering we need 2 of these guys, we may just kind of have to take what we can get at this position. James Kirby is a quarterback that's interested in us. I'll always take a look at guys that at this position in particular, because quarterbacks are so important, I'll always take a look at the quarterback pool. And he, kind of similar to Greg Bailey, goes up 5 overall. He's not quite a gem. He doesn't look too impressive in really any capacity, but I mean, it's not the worst quarterback prospect I've ever seen, but we probably won't be putting any points into him. A low overall running back, but he was interested in us and looked decently fast. I figured I'd give him a look. Yeah, we're not going to be going after him at all. Okay, 70 overall receiver, only 85 speed. Yeah, probably won't be going after him too hard. Oh, another bust. Gosh dang it. This is not going as well as I would have hoped. 68's not terrible, but again, man, really not that impressive at all. Okay, the number 15 athlete in the country has me in his top 5 off the bat, so at 6'4", 216, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least look at him. He goes down a bit. 91 speed is not great. He is terrible in coverage, so probably not a defensive player. Oh gosh, what is he? 72 catching is okay, 80 route running. His stiff arm, spin move, juke move, carrying, that's all decent, but at 6'4", I don't see him playing running back. I guess he's kind of a receiver? Receiver with a good frame. We don't have a lot of size at our receiver position right now, aside from... I mean, Ollie Jennings plays bigger than he is, but I think he's only 6'1 or 6'2", so... he may be worth going after, even though he doesn't look as impressive as I was hoping he might. Kerry Brown, another athlete I threw on here. With 80 throw power, 85 throw accuracy, a potential quarterback here with 90 speed is very interesting as well. Looks like pretty good in coverage as well. Maybe a guy we could stick at one of those safety spots if we need him. Catching pretty good, route running good, spec catches alright as well. Good with the ball in his hands as well. Stiff arm, spin move, juke. Carrying's low, but the other stuff looks good. An interesting player for sure. Maybe one that I'll go after a little more than I was expecting to when I added him to my board. Well, the board's not quite as impressive as I would have hoped. I tried to find guys at the positions in need and really only walked away with a couple guys I was really impressed with. So I'll be doing a lot of searching around during the weeks of this upcoming season. But at least we have guys at some positions that I'll be able to dump points into right off the bat as well. So we'll see. That didn't go as well as I would have liked, but it's a long season. There's plenty of time to find diamonds in the rough that I missed the first time around. With that, we are ready to start our season. Advance to week 1, baby. All right, and we are ready for week 1 of the season now. That was a very interesting offseason. Some things went really well, like the recruiting. We got all the guys we wanted. Some things went a little less well, like finding guys for this class off the bat, but it is what it is. Like I said, there's plenty of time to find better players, so I'll be on the lookout for sure. But that's going to do it for us this week. We are prepped for Season 2. I'm super pumped, especially with how last season went, especially down the stretch. So couldn't be more excited for this upcoming season, and I'm excited for y'all to join me on this journey. But that's going to do it for us this week. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later, y'all.